I am not bound to win, but I am bound to be true. I am not bound to succeed, but I am bound to live by the light that I have. I must stand with anybody that stands right, and stand with him while he is right, and part with him when he goes wrong.
How many legs does a dog have if you call his tail a leg? 4. Saying that a tail is a leg. Always bear in mind that your own resolution to succeed is more important than any other. I do the very best I know how, the very best I can, and I mean to keep on doing so until the end. As I would not be a slave, so I would not be a master. This expresses my idea of democracy. Don't worry when you are not recognized, but strive to be worthy of recognition. The shepherd drives the wolf from the sheep's throat, for which the sheep thanks the shepherd as his liberator, while the wolf denounces him for the same act as the destroyer of liberty. Plainly, the sheep and the wolf are not agreed upon a definition of liberty. My dream is of a place and a time where America will once again be seen as the last best hope of Earth. Discourage litigation. Persuade your neighbors to compromise whenever you can. As a peacemaker, the lawyer has superior opportunity of being a good man. There will still be business enough. I remember my mother's prayers and they have always followed me. They have clung to me all my life. I don't know who my grandfather was. I am much more concerned to know what his grandson. Labor is prior to, and independent of, capital. Capital is only the fruit of labor, and could never have existed if labor had not first existed. Labor is the superior of capital, and deserves much the higher consideration. With malice toward none, with charity for all, with firmness in the right, as God gives us to see the right, let us strive on to finish the work we are in, to bind up the nation's wounds. I never had a policy. I have just tried to do my very best each and every day. I care not much for a man's religion whose dog and cat are not the better for it. Let's have faith that right makes might, and in that faith let us, to the end, dare to do our duty as. You cannot escape the responsibility of tomorrow by evading it today. No man has a good enough memory to be a successful liar. If the great American people will only keep their temper, on both sides of the line, the troubles will come to an end, and the question which now distracts the country will be settled just as surely as all other difficulties of like character which have originated in this government have been adjusted. A man watches his pear tree day after day, impatient for the ripening of the fruit. Let him attempt to force the process, and he may spoil both fruit and tree. But let him patiently wait, and the ripe pear at length falls into his lap. Gold is good in its place, but loving, brave, patriotic men are better than gold. I can make more generals, but horses cost money. These men ask for just the same thing, fairness, and fairness only. This, so far as in my power, they, and all others, shall have. I was born and have ever remained in the most humble walks of life. I desire so to conduct the affairs of this administration that if at the end I have lost every other friend on earth, I shall at least have one friend left, and that friend shall be down inside of me. We here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. Don't swap horses in crossing a stream. I do not expect the Union to be dissolved, I do not expect the house to fall, but I do expect it will cease to be divided. It will become all one thing, or all the other. I have great respect for the semicolon. It is a mighty handy little fellow. The philosophy of the schoolroom in one generation will be the philosophy of government in the next. My great concern is not whether you have failed, but whether you are content with your failure. Do I not destroy my enemies when I make them my friends? I like to see a man proud of the place in which he lives. I like to see a man live so that his place will be proud of him. The probability that we may fail in the struggle ought not to deter us from the support of a cause we believe to be just. The shepherd drives the wolf from the sheep's throat, for which the sheep thanks the shepherd as his liberator, while the wolf denounces him for the same act as the destroyer of liberty. Plainly, the sheep and the wolf are not agreed upon a definition of liberty. That some achieve great success is proof to all that others can achieve it as well. You have to do your own growing no matter how tall your grandfather was. A friend is one who has the same enemies as you have. Discourage litigation. Persuade your neighbors to compromise whenever you can. As a peacemaker, the lawyer has superior opportunity of being a good man. There will still be business enough. Some single mind must be master, else there will be no agreement in anything. These capitalists generally act harmoniously and in concert to fleece the people, and now that they have got into a quarrel with themselves, we are called upon to appropriate the people's money to settle the quarrel. The highest art is always the most religious, and the greatest artist is always a devout person. I don't know who my grandfather was. I am much more concerned to know what his grandson will be. Whenever I hear anyone arguing for slavery, I feel a strong impulse to see it tried on him personally. The things I want to know are in books. My best friend is the man who'll get me a book I ain't read. Public sentiment is everything. With public sentiment, nothing can fail. Without it, nothing can succeed. There is no grievance that is a fit object of redress by mob law. My paramount object in this struggle is to save the Union, and is not either to save or to destroy slavery. If I could save the Union without freeing any slave, I would do it, and if I could save it by freeing some and leaving others alone, I would also do that. Books serve to show a man that those original thoughts of his aren't very new at all. Let not him who is houseless pull down the house of another, but let him work diligently and build one for himself, thus by example assuring that his own shall be safe from violence when built. When the white man governs himself, that is self-government, but when he governs himself and also governs another man, that is more than self-government, that is despotism. Fellow citizens, we cannot escape history. We, of this Congress and this administration, will be remembered in spite of ourselves. No personal significance, or insignificance, can spare one or another of us. The fiery trial through which we pass will light us down in honor or dishonor, to the latest generation. With the fearful strain that is on me night and day, if I did not laugh I should die. I know that the Lord is always on the side of the right, but it is my constant anxiety and prayer that I and this nation may be on the Lord's side. Common-looking people are the best in the world, that is the reason the Lord makes so many of them. If once you forfeit the confidence of your fellow citizens, you can never regain their respect and esteem. Hold on with the bulldog grip, and chew and choke as much as possible. I pass my life in preventing the storm from blowing down the tent, and I drive into pegs as fast as they are pulled up. When I am getting ready to reason with a man, I spend 1/3 of my time thinking about myself and what I am going to say, and 2/3 about him and what he is going to say. With public sentiment, nothing can fail. Without it, nothing can succeed. Never stir up litigation. A worse man can scarcely be found than one who does this. That I am not a member of any Christian church is true, but I have never denied the truth of the scriptures, and I have never spoken with intentional disrespect of religion in general, or of any denomination of Christians in particular. Standing as I do, with my hand upon the staff, and under the folds of the American flag, I ask you to stand by me so long as I stand by it. In this sad world of ours, sorrow comes to all and to the young. It comes with bitterest agony because it takes them unawares. I have had experience enough to know what I say. Upon the subject of education, not presuming to dictate any plan or system respecting it, I can only say that I view it as the most important subject which we, as a people, can be engaged in. I hold that while man exists, it is his duty to improve not only his own condition, but to assist in ameliorating mankind. To give victory to the right, not bloody bullets, but peaceful ballots only, are necessary. In giving freedom to the slave, we assure freedom to the free, honorable alike in that we give and what we preserve we shall nobly save, or meanly lose, the last best hope of earth. It has so happened in all ages of the world that some have labored, and others have, without labor, enjoyed a large proportion of the fruits. Republicans are for both the man and the dollar, but in case of conflict the man before the dollar. The mystic cords of memory, stretching from every battlefield and patriotic grave to every living heart and hearthstone, all over this broad land, will yet swell the chorus of the Union, when again touched, as surely they will be, by the angels of our nature. The time comes upon every public man when it is best for him to keep his lips closed. The assertion that all men are created equal was of no practical use in effecting our separation from Great Britain, and it was placed in the Declaration not for that, but for future use. I hope to stand firm enough to not go backward, and yet not go forward fast enough to wreck the country's cause. A living dog is better than a dead lion. Judge Douglas, if not a dead lion for this work, is at least a caged and toothless one. How can he oppose the advances of slavery? He don't care anything about it. It is rather for us here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion. I am like a man so busy in letting rooms in one end of his house, that he can't stop to put out the fire that is burning the other. There is another old poet whose name I do not now remember who said, "Truth is the daughter of time." Illinois surpasses every other spot of equal extent upon the face of the globe in fertility of soil and in the proportionable amount of the same which is sufficiently level for actual cultivation. It was that which gave promise that in due time the weights should be lifted from the shoulders of all men, and that all should have an equal chance. This is the sentiment embodied in that Declaration of Independence. Biographies, as generally written, are not only misleading but false. In most instances, they commemorate a lie and cheat posterity out of the truth. The legal right of the Southern people to reclaim their fugitives I have constantly admitted. The legal right of Congress to interfere with their institution in the states, I have constantly denied. Nothing new here, except my marrying, which to me is a matter of profound wonder. I go for all sharing the privileges of the government, who assist in bearing its burdens. Consequently, I go for admitting all whites to the right of suffrage, who pay taxes or bear arms, by no means excluding females. I have always hated slavery, I think, as much as any abolitionist. I have been an old line Whig. I have always hated it, but I have always been quiet about it until this new era of the introduction of the Nebraska bill began. A private soldier has as much right to justice as a major general. I perhaps sought to say that individually I never was much interested in the Texas question. I never could see much good to come of annexation, inasmuch as they were already a free Republican people on our own model. The people know their rights, and they are never slow to assert and maintain them when they are invaded. Oh, yes, you Virginians shed barrels of perspiration while standing off at a distance and superintending the work your slaves do for you. It is different with us. Here it is every fellow for himself, or he doesn't get there. No policy that does not rest upon some philosophical public opinion can be permanently maintained. Whatever woman may cast her lots with mine, should any ever do so, it is my intention to do all in my power to make her happy and contented, and there is nothing I can imagine that would make me more unhappy than to fail in the effort. If a man had more than one life, I think a little hanging would not hurt this one, but after he is once dead, we cannot bring him back, no matter how sorry we may be, so the boy shall be pardoned. A capacity, and taste, for reading gives access to whatever has already been discovered by others. We can succeed only by concert. It is not, can any of us imagine better, but, can we all do better? I can express all my views on the slavery question by quotations from Henry Clay. If you think you can slander a woman into loving you, or a man into voting for you, try it till you are satisfied. It is a quality of revolutions not to go by old lines or old laws, but to break up both and make new ones. Our defense is in the preservation of the spirit which prizes liberty as a heritage of all men, in all lands, everywhere. Destroy the spirit and you have planted the seeds of despotism around your own doors. Let the people on both sides keep their self-possession, and just as other clouds have cleared the way in due time, so will this, and this great nation shall continue to prosper as before.